I don't normally use this setup. Hello. I was in the middle. Like, I'm not kidding. I thought, fuck it, let's just turn the stream on, right? I've been through so much shit with this Twitter account thing. Like, you have no idea. I've just spent, I was sitting down to record a video today, explaining why I sort of decided to switch and move over to a new Twitter account, start over, retrain everything, refollow everyone, get everyone to follow me. And then I go to record the video, right, to show you the fact that I was sort of had a search ban on my account. It's fucking gone. It's like, oh my god, I'm so over this shit. I spend way too much time worrying about this stuff. I spent so much time, and it would be so much easier. It would be fixed in. It just, it's so frustrating. Anyway, so I just thought I'd log on and just do a quick stream and explain where things are at. I'm sorry, things might be confusing. If you follow me on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck, who cares anymore? Is anyone even on it anymore? Whatever. Okay, so so I was actually going to be recording a video. Okay, so let's get back to the beginning. Okay, it always takes me a few seconds to get sort of in the flow of things. But I was just sitting down. I was going to record a bunch of videos for my website and all of that sort of stuff, right? And explain why I'd moved, right? So I've moved from the Taylor account, which I've had since the beginning of. No, sorry, it's my second account. But that's been my main account since sort of 2011. Okay, I've done a delete and move before, so it's not really a big deal, right? But obviously, there's a lot of sunk costs in a Twitter account of 13 years that, there's friendships, there's connections, there's data, there's, for better or worse, right? So some of that data is good, which is that over the years, it's learned a lot about me, okay? Up until sort of 2017, I had a healthy account. I had a good, healthy viral account. It was, I had no problems, right? There were no issues. I could run ads. I'd run ads on behalf of clients, usual shit. Okay. But then obviously I found myself on the receiving end of sort of, a bunch of gaps. So over time, I was associated with various, far right people, fucking gender critical shit, and sort of falsely, well, okay, not falsely, I wasn't, I don't know. I don't know whether that's necessarily fair to say that it was falsely, because obviously at the end of the day, the way that Twitter accounts work is that it will, depending on who you follow, at the end of the day, it's how it works. It's not whether it's right or wrong. These algorithms and various things are actually just mirrors of our own sort of behavior and so anyway, I know this, right? So it was a mirror. But for better or worse, let's just be neutral about it. My account became sort of polluted, poisoned, as it were, with various gender critical accounts, culture wars accounts, all those sort of things. So, when you follow someone and they follow other people, you kind of get their stink on you. Okay. So that kind of works like the way that, like, if you have let's just say you're like an ordinary person. Okay. And it's worth thinking about this, because it's the way that the shift that has happened, right, is that you can no longer, I think it's naive to think that you can just say what you think in the words that you want to say, using the language that you want to use, and show up, speak your mind, and there not be a cost attached to that. Now, I saw Owen Jones talking about this this morning on Twitter, right, which was about Gaza, okay? And he was basically like, well, I don't understand why people don't speak up about this. And I find that surprising, because I think anybody who has been paying attention to the situation on, well, Twitter particularly, but all social networks, right? Twitter's not unusual, right? I think the thing that people need to understand is that it's not any different. Okay, it's just a matter of who's controlling the information, but for the most part, these things are a mirror. Like algorithms mostly just parrot back. Like even AI, LLMs, they're just parroting back our own projections or our own ideas or what it learns from us, right? It's nothing new, right? We know this. But one thing that we've learned over time is that there is a cost associated. I think anybody who knows anything knows that there is a cost associated with speaking your mind, okay? I think it's naive to think that that is not the case and that it shouldn't be the case, especially when you benefit from it in any other respect. So someone like Owen Jones, right, who's a journalist for The Guardian, I believe, unless he's been sacked, but he's a high-profile journalist in the UK. And it's really, he's an interesting case study because it's very strange, actually, to see that he was a champion of censorship and pylons and harassment for people who had a disagreement with him over other issues, only to then complain when it happened to him. But now I don't understand how you can hold these things in your mind, right, at once. I mean, that's what we do. We're good at that. We can do that, right? But I also don't understand how you can't see the pattern there around when you speak your mind, okay, regardless of what that opinion is. Various moneyed forces are going to take exception to that, okay? There is going to be consequences for speech. And I don't mean consequences in terms of criminal sanctions. I don't mean it in terms of, anything other than the fact that if you say something, you need to be aware that there's going to be a response to it somehow, okay? Now, when it comes to things like Twitter, I find it really interesting. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I've just kind of wandered off on a fucking tangent, as usual. But I just find it really interesting because I saw that they had this interaction, which is like, why are you surprised that people make a calculation and go, you know what, I'm not going to risk it for this one? Like I've had, it's been interesting actually when you think about my account as a microcosm. And that's, effectively what it has become and what it is. And that's why, my account and experience here is a microcosm of a broader problem. And I've done it deliberately that way. That's crash test dummy shit. That's what I do, right? So I went in and I tested it and I, again, underestimated it. But if you go up and you start mouthing off about an issue that you know is going to get pushback or blowback, okay, you shouldn't be surprised when other people we're social animals. People will look to previous, punishments, right, that other people get over time, so that when it becomes critical that people do speak out, they become battle worn from it. There hasn't been any benefit that I can see to speaking my mind, okay? I feel like I have been punished for it, not just, not recently, but just forever, right? I have learned the hard way, okay, initially I had this view that if I just stayed true to my brand, okay, if I said what I meant, I was honest, I showed up, I made sure that I, told the truth, and as I saw it at the time, I did my best to make sure that what I said was true and that I didn't try to deliberately mislead anyone, and I tried to operate with integrity, and I always do, okay? In every part of my life, I operate as honestly as I can with everyone that I can. It's hard to do, but I try, okay? And even if that may not appear to be the case, it is the case, right? I try not to mislead. I try not to do anything. I just show up and I be as honest as I can. But over the years, I've been punished for it, penalized for it. And one thing I found interesting is that there's, this is something, and this is more in my professional capacity, which is that the thing that draws people to me is the fact that I'm honest. okay, that I'm fairly trustworthy. I keep a secret, like I'm a vault, but at the same time, if you ask me a question, you know that you will get an honest answer directly from me. Like I've had these things, right, with friends where they're asking me a question and they're going, I want to ask you a question. And I know that they're coming to me not because they want an answer to the question that they're asking. They want me to tell them off. They want me to tell them the truth. They want me to tell them the truth they don't want to hear. Even if that operates on a subconscious level, I've always been the tough love person, okay, because I'm not very good at lying. But I naively thought that that was a quality that could translate online. And this was before the algorithms kicked in. And I know that I'm getting to a point around Twitter. I'm just sort of meandering here. But the thing that I've found very, well, it was concerning initially, but it's more now just resignation, okay, which is that, you have to use the asterisk. And even then, using the asterisk, the algorithm, okay, what it means is it's code, okay? It detects the words you use. It detects patterns that you use. They're called signals, okay? So you can't have too many signals on your account or you're going to end up banned. You can't go and do whatever you want and say whatever you want and behave however you want and also expect to have a healthy account, okay? That's my main point here, okay? It is funny because I went to show you that my other account was shadow banned and now it isn't. So I spent 2 weeks fucking doing through all of this shit, confusing everyone, getting everyone to refollow me, all of that shit, only for it to have now resolved. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that old account. Now, because a bunch of people haven't followed me over to the new account, I'm sitting between these two new accounts. I look crazy. Okay? It is very fucking annoying because a lot of this stuff could be fixed if we had access to support. Not this, oh, what did I do, Twitter? I don't know. Let me guess. How about you don't make me look crazy and actually just let me be able to fix my fucking account, please? But anyway, it's pretty funny because I still don't know what the fuck to do. Right? So I'm just, I don't know. And it's funny because I will just start being active on the new account and something else will happen or I won't get reach or whatever. But anyway, so it's just funny because just as I think it's resolved and I've fixed it and I've decided to move, it changes again. That's the nature of this thing. Right. But anyway, could be other things going on with my account as well. So it's probably still worth the switch. But anyway. But this is why I make myself the test case so that people can learn and I can give advice and I can go, okay, should you move, should you not? This is what I do. It's what I do best, which is consult on this stuff and go, okay, all right, let's troubleshoot this and figure it out. Let's figure out how to move forward. Well, it's what I used to do and not so much anymore because obviously I don't run an agency anymore. I'm moving into other things. But it has been an interesting experiment because when we're talking about signals, it has been interesting to go and look at myself and my own brand, not from a branding point of view, not from a human branding point of view, okay, but purely from a data, from a statistical, and from an algorithm, from the point of view of a machine that is programmed to look at certain signals from a particular worldview, from a particular, which is an American worldview. So the cunt word, the C word, off the table. Can't do it. I used to be able to. Okay. Early in my career, it was a big part of my brand, which was that I would use Twitter as a tool to express myself and banter. And using the word cunt was funny because Australian and it was a big part of building my audience. So, there was there's an emotional attachment. I have to let that word go on Twitter if I want to grow. And it is a matter of I've been thinking about this, which is you can't have it always. And this is the thing that I think and again, I know that, we obviously, we know that this is true. We know this is true. But I'm talking about just in terms of being more savvy in terms of digital strategy at this point, just pure branding, digital strategy angle. When you're talking about personal brand, okay, someone like me, again, I exist as a microcosm, which is this idea that you can't have it all. You cannot have it all. You have to decide, okay, what the priorities are. So for me, early with Twitter, okay, the reason why I use Twitter. Okay, let me move. Okay, meandering again. This is not pre-recorded content. This is just something I wanted to just fucking rant about a little bit and explore. And mostly also to do another sound test and also stream on a Sunday because I don't usually do that. So anyway, but from a pure personal branding, pure digital strategy, detached point of view, you can't be looking at yourself and your own brand in terms of your own value set. Now, when you do a branding exercise normally, okay, especially personal brand, okay, this is what has shifted, I think, in the last few years, which is that the more cynical, savvy operators have a point in terms of brand strategy and how you position yourself. Which, again, I'm forming these thoughts, so bear with me. Let me just sort of work through it. But you need to start looking at yourself as though, as a machine would. Okay. And I know that makes me die a little on the inside because obviously I have the opposite view. I think that the machines should be serving us, not ruling us. Okay. But unfortunately, much like when you're trying to apply for a job, this is how it is. This is not how I want it to be. Okay. There's a difference between how it should be and how I want it to be and how I wish it was and how it is. My job, my day job. Okay. This is not my day job. This is shit where I talk shit and I talk about how I wish things were. And somewhere in between those streams, I form some IP around the strategy side of things. Okay. With your strategy, you need to be more cynical about, I think you need to sit and do the exercise. This is where I've fallen down, which is that I want it both ways. A big part of my brand trips up algorithms. Okay. And that's part of it. But you need to learn, you need to be able to see yourself. And we went through this. Okay. Sorry. There's too many thoughts running through my head. So if you just watch, just sit with it for a second while I form these thoughts. When social first hit, I went through this. I've been through this a few times, but I think that there's a new shift now. So early in the web, it was sort of with blogging. Okay. So with blogging, you could just create a persona, right? You, as a writer, you had this sort of, there was this idea of the Belle de Jour and the Sex and the City, and you were Deuce, and you had this sort of persona that was separate from who you were. It was like a mystery life, okay, that you sort of, like a second life where you lived sort of outside of yourself, and you could create these personas that that were somewhat detached from who you were, because the internet was not real life. The internet's not real life. And it's very interesting because with blogging and through social and blogging sort of made those real identities and those personas sort of collide. And some of us held on to these personas for too long. Like for me, it was always, it's very interesting because my, when you think about my 30 years doing this stuff, there's a lot of shedding that goes on as these things shift and change and move, right? And I haven't really thought about it, but there's a lot of shedding that happens. So, with the blogging thing, it was like snark and rants and, talking about people and my children and stuff in ways that I wouldn't necessarily do today because I wasn't necessarily writing for a broad audience. Okay. I was writing for my small audience, and I always have, even with Twitter, the way that I use Twitter now, okay, is that because I work on my own, I sit here at my desk and I'm isolated in my brain. Okay. I live in here. You think it's annoying to watch me? I fucking live in this thing and it is really noisy. Okay. It's just how my brain works is noisy. And so the way that a creative brain would normally work is that you have people to sort of brainstorm with or bounce ideas off. But when you work on your own at home in a creative field, or you're doing something where there's a lot of sort of, mental load, okay, you need that external stuff. So for me, it's like whiteboarding and scribbling and, all that sort of stuff. But also Twitter was a big part of that, which is that you'd put that stuff out there. It was my id of sorts, right? I have never tweeted as though I expect people to read it. Okay. I've always just tweeted as a way of just sort of putting it out there like I would a room. Right. So it happened today. Okay. So I've been having this struggle, this creative struggle with my website, and I've been trying to work through. So one of the things that I feel pressure with the website, pressure over the website with, I don't know if that sentence came out right. I'm feeling pressure with my website because I am a user experience designer. You then have that pressure to have a good user experience. So then the stakes are higher so that when you get what I mean? Yeah. So I've been trying to at least do something that I think is better and good and excellent. And I've become a little bit paralyzed there, creatively paralyzed with that. Knowing a lot of the things that, knowing that I'm going to be judged on, best practice for user experience. I've created this myself, okay? Knowing that I'm trying to position myself to multiple audiences that are actually quite incompatible with each other sometimes, like a lot of the time, which is my, my professional consulting audience, where they want me to pretend I'm not like a socialist. They want me to sort of, tinker at the edges of the critique. They don't want me to go in and say, actually I had this happen this week with a podcast that I was on, where I said something that was fairly obvious, fairly bog standard critique of the internet, which was that if you watch my stuff, you know what my position is on it, which is that he asked me what broke the internet. And I said, well, the advertising agencies had played a big role in it, which is that they were doing all of these things in an unregulated industry, and they had no ethical guidelines or code. There were no regulations. And the marketers and all that sort of stuff. And he called me a marketer, and I said, well, if people call me that, I usually get embarrassed. And then he kind of started to get very defensive about that, saying, well, I have to defend marketing. And I said, well, you should. Okay, my job is to make you think about what you're doing and what you're contributing and how you contribute to the bigger picture. And it's just like, that's a you problem. Okay, so it's fine to be. If you feel uncomfortable from what someone is saying, it's not necessarily what they're saying that is wrong. It is, you got to take some responsibility for being triggered yourself as well, right? So anyway, so there's that whole thing. But that audience wants me to, the way that I make money, people want me to say things that are softened around the edges. Okay, I've got to be a bit softer. I've got to be a bit more organized. I've got to be more corporate, all those sorts of things. The other audience obviously is my content audience, but also just from a pure like user experience point of view, the purpose of the website with one homepage has 2 calls to action, actually 3. Okay, so you've got the consulting part where people book the consult, but then you've got the content part, which is a bit more loosey goosey, like this shit. All right, you go, okay, yeah, funny, say what I want, that kind of thing, and then obviously you got the courses and various other things. Okay, so you need to, and there's a science to a lot of this stuff. So it's like I know what will work and what will not work, and those 3 audiences are not necessarily compatible with each other. And so I was coming unstuck because also then you got the pressure of the best practice of user experience. Like normally the lazy user experience person would say, well, just have 3 slides. But I also know that like no one reads sliders and stuff like that, right? So there's all these conflicting things. I wanted to have everything my own way. And so I go through these problems, right? And a lot of this stuff happens under the surface, okay? People don't understand that when you know what you're talking about. You've got lots of different conflicting things. It's not as straightforward as just do a website. Say what you want. It's like, well, no, you need to factor in a lot of different things. You need to know who your audience is. I have different audiences. I have different disciplines because there's part of me that's like, very serious and professional and all of that sort of stuff. But then there's the silly part of me, and how do you integrate that? Because I'm not necessarily on the stage. Probably should be, but I'm not. So I need to, cater to that audience to make a living. If I had my way, I would get rid of that audience, but I can't because, I can't make the content thing like profitable. So, you got to choose, right? And it's the same thing with your algorithm. It's like, well, what are you doing with your social media? Because I see a lot of people who, and again, back to that Owen Jones example that I was talking about, where he wants, it seems to me like he wants to be able to do what he wants without any pushback. And again, I'm not saying he's not correct. I'm not saying he's not got the correct position here. I just find it interesting to see these patterns of people only seem to be concerned with other people speaking out when it's their issue and then punishing others when they speak out against something they feel strongly about. And that's what I find really interesting. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So the Twitter with the signals, right? Let's have a drink. Signal. So YouTube's always looking, okay? Always looking at the video. It's only outlines, it's only pattern recognition, right? It's only patterns, but at the same time, it looks like it's like I just put a giant dick on my screen. Red mark. Okay. Same thing. So that's what the signals are, okay? The amount of swearing in my videos. Signal. Overall, so who follows me, who subscribers, if there's any like fake subscribers, which, there's a few bots and stuff that I've never cleaned out, but whatever, whatever. That happens. Everyone gets those. The one thing on YouTube with the comments section, part of the reason why I don't really engage with comments is because they lean so negative, first of all, but also because you end up, if you have a active comment section that like people get into fights over, you get punished for other people's behavior in your comments, right? Which again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you're a community leader, you should be leading the community. So for me, basically my policy is to not really engage with the comments because I don't, first of all, like I don't get many, but also it's just not something that I think is worth my time. And the downsides to engaging with it. So if I engage with some idiot that's got something negative to say and they want to do a pile-on, if I engage with it, then YouTube will just see that as toxic, okay? Whereas if it's just someone else, if I engage with it, then I'm on the hook for the behavior. If someone's just being a dickhead and I haven't marked it as read or seen it, then I don't get necessarily penalized. It's all these different signals. It's the same thing with Twitter. So so this is where like an old account or a new account, that there's benefits and downsides and, costs and benefits to like both options, which is, you've got an old account that's got a lot more data on you, but it's an old account that's got a lot more data on you, right? That's somewhat neutral because so basically what I went through is I cleaned out all of the followers. I did a scorched earth thing on my followers. Okay, so my follower account I think dropped by like 2,000 or something. I reduced it down to like fuck all. Basically anything that was inactive, had like a weird like follower ratio, had certain keywords in the bio. I just did a scorched earth thing. I used a tool to search the API and just like mass unfollow, right? And then I obviously unfollowed a bunch of people and blocked a bunch of people. What I also then did was go into my settings and I muted all sorts of keywords, all culture war stuff, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, gender criticals, trans stuff, all of that kind of crap. Okay, Amber Heard, anything that looks like, even smells like culture war shit, I muted those keywords, okay, and hashtags. I then on my For You feed, hit not interested. I'll do it. I have been meaning to do an actual proper tutorial video on this. I logged on today to just fucking I don't know. I was in the middle of recording and I was like, you're not going to believe this shit. But the other account is now healthy, I think. I don't know. So some of the stuff that I did, the mass unfollowing and everything that I did, seems to have worked, but it took too long. See, the thing about me is that usually it's a matter of me not waiting long enough or being patient long enough. And this could be the case, which is that I did that. But I'm between accounts, I'm testing, I'm hoping that I will have like made a decision about these things in the next couple of weeks. But fucking hell, is it annoying. But I need to get very clear on the state of my old account. The new one seems to be okay, but again, there's a cost associated with that, which is that I have to rebuild all of the data, all of the following, all of the relationships that I've had. There's people I don't want to lose touch with. There's obviously branding and all of those other aspects as well, right, that you've got to consider. And so it's like lots and lots of stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, so what I did was I sort of did a mass unfollow of everything, started to set boundaries around following back, and even just blocking people from following me, all of that sort of stuff. So blocking a lot more, muting certain words, training the For You feed, training the What's Happening feed, leaving any, muting any accounts that I didn't want sort of littering up my eyes. And it doesn't matter if you, and this is the thing I was talking about before about, engaging in certain stuff, which is that, if you're sitting there arguing with like people that I don't want to see, there's a very good chance I'll mute you as well. So if you're sitting there arguing with Pearl Davis or these people, right, and it shows up on my For You, there's a very good chance that I will mute you too. And so I think it's worth thinking about that and thinking about how your behavior and conduct not only looks to an algorithm, because for me, I actually sat back and I went, okay, well, how do I look to Twitter? If I was just a machine that had been trained in a certain way, what would you think I am? And I was like, okay, let's do an empathy exercise. Okay, let's just sit there and go, let's do an empathy exercise for a robot, not for a user, not for a human who understands that you are fallible and that swearing and that you're Australian and all of these other signals that will not have been programmed in. Okay, so things that humans know and can sense, algorithms cannot. So one thing that the algorithm cannot do is detect irony. Okay, definitely cannot tell a joke to save its life. It doesn't know when you're joking or not. It takes you literally. Okay, so how it works. So if you are, swearing a lot, saying the C-bomb, attached to all of these accounts, following all these far-right accounts, littered with bots, letting bots follow you. So there's, it accumulates over time, okay? And then you start, you can't really expect to have a healthy account. And I think that that's really my and it might seem obvious, okay? This might seem obvious to some people, especially if you're in the industry, that you can't have it both ways, okay? It's like, well, congratulations, Taya, you've grown up. But you've got to remember that I'm from a generation where, and social media in particular, where authenticity was the thing. So being authentic. I built, 80%, I have never had to advertise my services or my business for the entire time I have operated, okay? I have always just been able to get referral business on personality alone, just by showing up and being me, okay? That's something I have always been able to do. That is something that, it's a strategy that has always worked for me, which is being myself, saying, I've got that, there's a post, can't remember, it's the asterisk, free as in freedom asterisk article, where I talked about this a little bit, where people were asking me and grilling me on my use of this of the C word when I was in 2010 and stuff, when I was on panels and stuff. People used to, and I would say it is actually quite a strategic move, which is that I don't want to work with people who are in the business of policing what people say on social media. Okay, so it was a strategic thing. And so, but that strategy doesn't work anymore because it's not people that you're appealing to. It's not like you're sitting there and going, oh, well, we're going to be talking to a person who I can state my case to. I wish that was the case. I wish that I could call up someone and go, you know what, this has been a misunderstanding. It doesn't work that way. you've got a machine that is programmed in a certain way and a certain rigid, imagine the most autistic, most conservative, most corporate HR rep that you've ever met. That's the person who's determining whether your content gets shared or not. Okay. And that is that is like even just, that's not even including sort of bad actors or platform manipulation or anything like that actually will actively target you. Okay. So, and then also you've got to do some stuff yourself, which is to, like for me, in my case, I think that I got a bit slack when it came to training my algorithm and deciding what I wanted to see. So the thing that also, I think that has made a difference. Like I have recently written, I thought I had decided to leave X and call it a day. But I think that what happened was I actually had to remember why I use it and what I like about it. And what I liked about I've managed to actually recreate and rebuild what feels like somewhat of a 2010, 2011 experience on my X account now, purely by changing the feed and going in and editing the settings, going in and taking the time to, like I said, mute and block a bunch of accounts, unfollow a bunch of accounts. Don't be afraid to mute people, even people you like. If I like you as a person and you're spurging out with all these far right accounts, you're muted. Okay, I'm just telling you now, I've muted you. Okay, just so you know. All right, that has happened, but that's a reason. There's a reason for that, and it's not to be mean. It's not personal. Okay, I have actually warned quite a few times that that's what's occurred. But, which is that if I see it, I have ADHD. So with ADHD, that means that I have a slight emotional dysregulation. So things like rejection sensitivity, my impulse control. I need a minute. So I have trouble with shifting context, okay? And I have a problem with regulation. I regulate pretty well, pretty quickly. I'm pretty adaptive, right? But in that sliver of a moment when I see something and I get mad or get that sort of that lightning bolt, okay? I'm a cobra. I will spit, okay? That impulse control, I need to proactively manage my impulse control. Some people can do that. Some people can like scroll past, like I do for the most part. But if something particularly gets my goat, or I have the other thing that I also have is like this temptation to dunk on things and be my worst self. Okay, for that, because it's like, but then you actually are quote tweeting and sharing those people, and it's like I don't want to be involved in that stuff. And I do feel that you are what you eat to an extent. Well, no, literally, I think you are. But you also on your social media feed, you are what you consume. Even if it's passive, even if it's just scrolling past it, you still do passively consume certain things and certain. Like my mental health is so markedly different when I'm seeing and reading good stuff versus not. Okay, even if it's just memes and dumb shit like most of my and music stuff. Okay, getting back to my interests is one thing, not just culture wars crap on my For You feed. So what I actually blocked Elon Musk, okay? I blocked Donald Trump. I block and mute all of the followers. I have muted the word Musk, Tesla, crypto, Doge, fucking all of those things. I've muted Bitcoin. I've muted everything, okay? I just go, no, I'm not seeing that anymore. What I have done is I've created some lists. Obviously, I won't tell you who's on those lists because, but I have a tight circle of people that I see and trust to give good content and stuff like that. And it might look like I'm stalking them sometimes because I only see like them and I go, whatever. But people who I generally trust to give good stuff and good tweets that aren't just constant fucking spurging out over culture wars, I have a quiet list. It's my quiet list of people that I go to when I read. That is a separate list, and I've pinned that list, and that's my feed. Then I've got my following, but then I've got my For You. But you can actually train that feed pretty well. Like I'm actually discovering quite a lot of cool content, and because I've switched accounts, some of that cross pollination, I still haven't followed a few people on those accounts. So the For You feed is very useful for that. But yeah, so hang on. I haven't really been paying attention if anyone's watching. Is anyone watching? Oh yeah, no, there are people. Okay. I don't know why. It's not very interesting. It's just funny because I was just yeah, anyway. Um but these signals, right? It does matter. Okay? So the way that these things work is that you are dragged down by association. Okay? The takeaway from this is that it's not one thing. Okay? It is a number of different things that look and determine your account health. And I've talked about this a lot, right? Which is the swearing. Okay? So the swearing is a number one big thing. So if you get hit with a not safe for work flag on your account because you swear too much or you know, post like adult pictures or whatever, it's like instant shit for your account, right? Hi, Tetris Toast. Hello. You it's like a death sentence, right, for your account. So I don't know why they've lifted it. Maybe it's because I kept tagging premium and they finally like lifted it. I don't know what it is specifically on my other account that suddenly put it in the green. I like to think that it's because I wasted 2 weeks fixing the new account. And the whole world exists to fuck with me. But hey, we'll see how we go. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so the signals, right? So it's a death sentence. So but you can't. I think this is the thing that I think everyone needs to accept. You can't say things in a certain way with certain patterns, certain words, certain, you know, like in my case, it's basically like, well, I'm Australian, okay? I have to think like an American. It sucks. I am not a fan, okay? I like individual Americans. Individual Americans are great, but I don't like corporate America, and they can go fuck themselves. And everything that I am is opposed to that. But unfortunately, this is art of war shit. You need to you have to sit and make the decision and make a calculation about whether you want, how much, and whether at all, if at all, but whether you want to speak out on Gaza. You have to make that calculation. It has to be worth it. And I think most people's experience, unfortunately, is that it isn't worth it. You only end up like me, like I said, the microcosm for all these things. You end up punished with no safety net. Like people like Owen Jones, people like Megan Murphy, people who go pandering. I mean, not Owen Jones doesn't, you know, that's a different thing. He's got the commercial backing. So if you've got corporate backing from a mainstream media publication, you don't suffer from this problem because, you know, they've got reach. They've got alternate sources of reach, okay? Alternative sources. If you go and pander to the far right, like, you know, your culture wars people, or you just go and talk about trad wife shit or whatever the fuck to, you know, all of that stuff, how you left the left, you know, there's an audience for you, so you're not necessarily going to suffer. But if you are a normal person who doesn't have sort of backing of money, like the money behind it, and all of these people have money behind them, whether they say so or not, they're not independent, okay? They just think they are. Say they are, think they are, depends. If you're an ordinary person like me, a little microcosm for the actual, you know, the bigger picture, if you're not famous, if you're not already famous and already a celebrity or already have an audience, and you are wholly dependent on reach and algorithms and social media, and you don't have an account manager, you don't have the ability to get in touch with any support, right? Because I still do. I have some relationships that I can massage, but none at Twitter. Never any at Twitter. I do at the others. But if you don't have that, you have to make the calculations. But you also have to consider, first of all, whether you're dragging down people that you follow and interact with. Not take it personally if they have to distance themselves from you because they're, and then that's the position that I find myself in with my account on Twitter, which is that there's people that I would like to follow, but I can't because they behave like fuckwits and drag me down with them, and they're not paying me to do that. And so I need, you know, so there's that thing. You have to make that calculation about how much you want your reach. Now, I don't care about reach per se. It's not like don't sit here trying to be famous. Okay. I'm not sitting here trying to be an influencer. I have a business. I operate in a space where I need to be able to promote myself to live. And so with the last account, what happened? Up until 2 seconds ago, I had a search suggestion ban. Fucking hell. I'm going to go test that now. But up until recently, I had a search suggestion, blah, blah. Fuck it. Search suggestion ban. Stutter fuck. Okay. It's my Stanley Cup. Got it from Temu. No, but up until, then I was being dragged down by bots that were follow, unfollow. So one of the things, I've talked about this before. So one of the things that bad actors do is that they'll just put like 100 accounts, like bad account, and they'll just follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow. And you can't stop them from doing that unless you padlock your account. So you have to lock your account so that people have to request to follow you, okay? Or you can, there's no point blocking bots, okay? There's no point because they just spin out new ones. So if someone's targeting your account with follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, that is a really big signal to Twitter that there's something dodgy going on with your account. Because part of the reason that they have that follow, unfollow is because there's tools in the back end. There's tools called, what was it? Our Lead, I think it's called, where you can go and target the followers so you just do a mass follow. Okay. So you go and it's a script where you can just follow a bunch of people and hope they follow you back. And then what you do is within 24 hours, if they haven't followed you back, you unfollow them. So the tools that Twitter use to detect follow, unfollow is there to stop platform manipulation. But people who do platform manipulation will fuck up your account by doing follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow, follow, unfollow. So your account gets flagged as the thing that's doing platform manipulation when it's not. It's just a third party doing it. And it's the same thing with, you can just buy followers. You can go and just buy followers. You don't have to log in or use your login credentials to do it. You can just go on any site and purchase 2,000 followers. I had 2,500 followers, fake followers, the lowest quality ones. Suddenly, when I started to talk, what was it that's right. I think it was around the Trigonometry Bros when I called out them on the shit that they were just deliberately misrepresenting. I think it was around that time. And 2,500 followers just suddenly appeared over the course of 2 weeks. But I'd also had some stuff go viral at that week, so I hadn't really noticed or observed. So over time, I had this like bunch of junk followers on my account that Twitter, obviously, again, look at your account as if you're just the robot, and it goes, oh shit, that person bought followers. That's there for a purpose. That's there for the right reasons, right? You wouldn't argue that's a security thing, right? But then obviously on top of that, it's like she swears a lot, not safe for work. She does a lot of stupid jokes. She's associated with all these accounts, these TERF accounts that second and third degrees who harass people. Also, she's lefty, so she's also inconvenient. So even lefties, even socialists will be caught in the net here because you need to look as though you need to be, like I said, HR bot. You need to look at it as though ChatGPT is making all of the decisions. Okay, if you've tried to use ChatGPT to write anything, that's the worldview you want to look at. The friendly, perky, that's what ChatGPT wants to see. Okay, that sets that corporate bollocks standard. If you deviate from that in too many ways, you can get away with one or two. So if I hadn't been targeted with the follow unfollows or the spam, or if I hadn't entered the culture wars, if I hadn't defended people who'd been banned, all of that sort of stuff, if I hadn't found myself associated with bad actors to begin with, I could have gotten away with the swearing. So it's not so much about, being perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But when you have all of these things that get tripped up, all of these signals at once, it's no surprise that you would be sort of flagged in their system. Again, like I've said 100 times before, without a human, even there's no human intervention here. There could be, because there is also God mode, and there's also those other things where human intervention um, is required. I'm not arrogant enough to think that they've had a human touching any of this. I've just been caught up in it because I've been A/B testing and experimenting and following people that, by association. And then you got all these people like the gender critical, the turf swarm particularly, who have been, harassing people. And you've seen it, like, all these people harassing everyone. If you get that stink on you, you're already like algorithmically screwed. But I actually noticed this on Facebook about a year ago. And I basically went through and unfriended a bunch of turf accounts that I didn't know who they were. So they were kind of like sleeper accounts, right? And they just, for some reason, there was a point where they just friended me and followed me and stuff, and I just politely followed back. Don't politely follow back. You don't owe anyone a follow back. Think about things through it from the algorithm's point of view by association. You can't afford to be polite when it comes to follow backs. You can't afford to be polite when it comes to not muting and blocking. You have to be able to set boundaries online. Okay. Now I will do a more formal, that's what I was actually recording today before I just turned on the live stream, because I was like, fucking hell. I felt like anyway. But I'm working on that at the moment, but it's just, you have to be able to set boundaries. You don't have to take it in. You don't owe anyone a response, a reply, your time, your attention, anything. You do not owe me anything. You do not owe anyone else anything. Unfortunately, because we live in this, I wish it was different. I wish I could just say what I wanted to say, the way that I wanted to say it, follow who I wanted to follow, and still make a living. You can't. Okay? You just can't. You need to sanitize it. You need to just purge these accounts, because you need to look at it as though, think about it much like if you're applying for a job and you have to like clean your digital footprint, right? I know this is just digital footprint stuff, but it's not. I think people still naively think that the digital footprint can be explained away to a person. Okay? It can't. It is a robot looking at it now. It is not, can't be reasoned with. A human can be reasoned with. Bots cannot. So we're seeing this thing with AI at the moment, and I'm going to talk about this in a separate stream, maybe like in a week or so, where AI screening tools for HR and recruitment and selection, they're screening out any candidate who is good and selecting candidates who know how to like stuff keywords into their CV and say the right things. So the irony is that people that they're getting the most mediocre middle of the road candidates, and the superstars who just they're not getting through these systems. But nobody, because the system is run by people who are retarded and don't know how these things work, they just take it on face value and go, well, look, we found these great candidates. And so I can't get a job. I couldn't get a job. I wouldn't be able to. My CV is too complex for any kind of algorithm at the moment. Okay, I can't get through. I wouldn't. There's no point. But it can't be reasoned with. Okay. And it's the same thing with content moderation. It looks at who you're friends with, who you're associated with, your language patterns, your usage patterns. I mean, for me, because I'm a high volume user, that could also be another signal, which is because the way that I use Twitter, and I have gotten back to it and I enjoy it, which is using it as my little in a chatter thing. Obviously, I don't share everything, but I do my little thought experiments and brainstorming, and I sit around and I go, okay, here's a thought, here's this thought, here's that thought, here's this thought, here's that thought. Here's an idea. It's like my little improv. It's like my little sort of sandbox for like my brain. And so usually what you'll see if you follow me on X is that I'll do quite a bit, but I don't expect anyone to follow. I expect people to mute me. I expect the algorithm to decide what is relevant to the people that follow me and what isn't. And it's not like the old days where it was chronological and I'd be flooding, people's. It's different now. They'll it's handled by the For You like feed, right? For the most part, it will throttle what people see of my stuff. So I just go there and I go, and it's the same thing. That's why I think people leaving is a good thing, because I liked Twitter when the people weren't there. I used it as a way of just saying what I felt and thought and weird ideas. And if someone saw it, so be it. So I think part of the reason why I'm back, and I'm quite happy to be back, and I'm quite happy to be the last person using it, is because I don't use Twitter the same way as the same way other people do. Okay? I don't expect anything of it. I've reframed it. I've had to reframe the way that I use it, because again, you've got to focus on what your priorities are and what you want. Okay. I want to be able to run ads. Okay. So I can do that. I want to be able to get reach, but I don't want to waste my money when I do. So reach does matter, because if you have your reach capped, you have to pay more for your ads. So you need to think about that. But it's also secondary to how I ordinarily use it, okay, which is just banter and back and forth and fucking around. And while I'm working and thinking, I'm doing that and multitasking. It helps to sort of suck the poison out while I'm doing my main stuff, because I'm highly distractible. So having a place where I've just put thoughts out there and fucking whatever, I'm using different parts of my brain. I use Twitter that way. But some people obviously use it differently. It's like some people use it just purely for broadcasting PR messages, and others use it in a more strategic way. I use it just as a fucking fuck around, like, scratch pad, and always have. Okay. And jokes and riffing and testing ideas, and nothing is ever finished on Twitter for me. It's always the unfinished, unpolished version of what's going on in the noggin while I do my real work. And so getting back to that and curating that experience has been actually really beneficial for both my mental health and my relationship with it. Okay. It's ironic, actually, because I was using it less when it was horrible, but the problem is now it's actually so good that I'm using it too much again. Remember the old days of Twitter where you'd just be on it all the fucking time because there was cool shit going on. It's like now I'm spending too much time, so I got to like wean off it again. And stop sort of, I've still got to moderate my use of Twitter. But at the same time, I think really sitting and thinking about how you look to a robot and how you look to an algorithm, not a human, because like I said, you can't reason with the algorithm. You can reason with a human being. You can, when you reach a human being, say, you know what, I'm Australian. This is my brand. This is my, I use that word strategically, and here's why. And a human can go, okay, I understand. Let's whitelist you then. That's what a human can do. A human can override the machine. Problem is, there's no humans that can override the machine right now. And those that can have a different worldview to you. So that's the thing, is also that even Twitter support is has a different worldview. You have to play the game. You have to go, well, as much as I have no problem with the C word, I have no problem with it. And I want to use it with abandon. I can't. Okay, because I've got too many things that add up to limiting my account. And I think that it's perfectly rational for someone to turn around in that context and say, you know what, I'm not going to talk about the Gaza situation as much as I should, as much as I would like. I would love to be able to do that. I went and did that over other issues, and I got punished for it. There was nothing for me at the end. And I'm not saying that it has to be something in it for you to do the right thing. I'm saying that when it's not like you're doing anything. Speaking out is not doing anything unless you have a big platform, okay? Unless you have 100K plus followers or a large platform and you have some degree of influence on that platform, you speaking up does fuck all, okay? I'm just going to tell you, it does fuck all. It's not like you're not mobilizing anything, okay? Now, that may or may not be true in some cases. Like if you're a persuader like me and you've kind of got street cred, it's not all about the numbers. Like for me, it's who follows you and who shows interest as much as, the number of people. Okay. I have background influence. I'm a background influence kind of person, but I can use that background influence and persuade people without spurging out publicly on Twitter and attracting IDF bots and attracting fucking all of these astroturfing and attracting all these troll farms and attracting all that abuse. Because that to an extent that becomes a counterproductive thing to do, because you're only going to cop it and you're going to lose your reach. And so is it worth losing your reach for and not having the ability to speak out on future issues that might be very important, such as something like Palestinians, right? The genocide that's going on. I'm not afraid to say that it's a genocide. It's obvious fucking genocide. But you can't sit there and say that stuff without doing a calculation about whether you want to retain or keep or lose your account, and whether it is the thing that you are willing to die in a ditch over. Okay. And I've already died in a ditch over an issue, and it fucked me. And I now am in a position where maybe, perhaps I need to start fresh with a new account, right? Up until recently, that was the case. I got to go and test a bit further. Let's see. Anyway, anyway, so it's worth thinking about. You got to start. Again, I'm just riffing on this because I needed an excuse. I had no real plan. I needed an excuse to stream on a Sunday afternoon, and I had really nothing to talk about because I'm focused on other things. Focused on stuff. Sunday. I'm too tired. Anyway, I'm going to back tomorrow. I look like a tea bag. I feel like a hug. Anyway. Yeah, so but anyway, I think it's worth thinking about these things, because I don't think that anyone should be surprised when they get blocked or muted or unfollowed or punished or anything. I'm working on some written stuff around this as well. Obviously, this is some of this is strategic. There's IP here, right, on digital strategy and how to approach things and how things have changed and moved in the last few years, which is, like I said, algos can't be reasoned with, right? Humans can. There's no humans running things. So you have to assume that you have to distance yourself and stop being naive about common sense. Humans have common sense. Robots don't. Robots are programmed, okay? AI is programmed with a certain idea, a certain worldview, and you need to be not going against that worldview. That sucks. Okay? But there's ways you got to be smart about it. Okay? Now, remember, don't just use asterisks either, because it can tell. Okay? So it has all the variations. So, cunt is a cunt with an asterisk, fuck. It's like they're always adapting and learning like what the new words are. Okay? But you've just got to be a bit savvy and smart, and you just got to go, okay, well, here it is now. I have to be an asterisk person now, or creative. One of the things that I'm working on is trying to figure out creative ways of, insulting people and stuff. But, also look at it as a way of not insulting people maybe, and just trying to ignore it. So a lot of that stuff is training your feed to make sure that you are not seeing stuff that makes you tempted to be reactive in the first place. So for me, the reason I mute a lot of this stuff is because I'm tempted to comment on it if I see it. And I don't want to comment on it because I'm trying to, you get what I'm saying? So you have to go scorched earth on some of these things, right? You can't have both. They're incompatible with each other. And so this is the thing, like, where it's like content me, viral me is incompatible with me as a professional. And when you're talking about me as a professional, I understand that there is a trade-off associated with certain aspects of my other self, right? Which is the swearing, the content. But if you want to promote your business and I want to run ads and I want to do other things, can't do that other stuff because it doesn't work. It's going to fuck up my account up until an hour ago. Anyway, that's an hour. I just wanted to, I haven't really said anything of value, but I just wanted to sort of, show up, do the thing. But explain why I've got two accounts and why I've still got 2 fucking accounts. And I was going to say follow the new account, but right now, again, we're in the fucking middle again until I figure it out. Can't we just call someone? Like, seriously, this is getting fucking ridiculous. Anyway, I am actually thinking of just getting, if I had a bit more money, I'd just get a verified org account for a bit. So I had an access to account manager so they can audit and clean up my account. But I was supposed to get that with premium and they don't do that either. So I don't know what the fuck. Anyway, maybe they've cleaned it. I don't know. But let's see. Anyway, you'll see a lot more structured and pre-recorded stuff from me. I just popped in because I've been neglecting things. But I shall be back. Okay? I shall be back probably either tomorrow. Actually, yeah, it's Monday tomorrow. I'll probably be back in the morning talking about AI stuff because there's a lot going on there too. But yeah, so tomorrow, Tuesday, I don't know, probably tomorrow. I'll try to do tomorrow. I love you. Thank you, and bye.